In the sun-drenched hills of Enugu, Nigeria, where the air always carried the sweet scent of ripening mangoes and the distant call of church bells, the story of Ada began like so many others, rooted in young love that felt eternal. Emeka was just 15 when he first noticed Ifeoma in secondary school. She was in the debate club, her voice rising like a clear stream over the noisy classroom, arguing passionately about the importance of girls' education in their Igbo community. Emeka, shy but determined, with his faded uniform shirt tucked neatly and textbooks always under his arm, had been assigned to the same group project. Their eyes met across the wooden desk scarred by years of student carvings, and something sparked. From that day, their love unfolded slowly, like the cassava leaves unfurling after the first rains of the planting season. They walked home together along the red dirt paths, dodging the occasional goat that wandered from a neighbor's compound. Emeka would carry her heavy bag of books, and Ifeoma would tease him about his serious face, making him laugh until his sides hurt. One day, he told her under the shade of an old Iroko tree, "I will build us a house on this hill, with windows that look out over the valley, and you will fill it with books and children who argue even better than you." She blushed, braids swinging, and replied, "Only if you promise to dance at our wedding like your father does at Christmas parties." They grew up together through the years. Secondary school graduation came with proud parents snapping photos on old Nokia phones. University followed, Emeka studying banking and finance at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, while Ifeoma pursued teaching. Distance tested them, but letters arrived weekly, scented with lavender soap she loved, and weekend bus rides became their ritual. By 25, after saving every kobo from part-time jobs, they stood in a modest church in Emeka's village, surrounded by family in vibrant Ankara fabrics and gele head ties. Vows were exchanged under strings of fairy lights, and the reception spilled into the night with high-life music, jollof rice steaming on long tables, and children chasing each other between plastic chairs. Their first child arrived 2 years later. Ada was born on a humid July night in the local hospital, her cries strong and immediate. Ifeoma held her close, whispering Igbo lullabies into her tiny ear, stroking the soft curls that already mirrored her own. "You are our light, Nne," she murmured. But joy turned to sorrow in the quiet hours before dawn. Complications, unseen and sudden, stole Ifeoma away. She slipped into unconsciousness, her hand still linked with Emeka's, and never woke. The doctor spoke in low voices about blood loss and unforeseen issues, but to Emeka, it felt like the world had cracked open. He sat alone in the dim room, newborn Ada swaddled against his chest, tears falling onto her blanket. "I promise you, my jewel," he whispered, voice breaking, "you will be my mother and your father. Your mama's dreams will live through you." There was no second pregnancy, no baby boy. Grief swallowed any thought of more children. Emeka buried Ifeoma under the mango tree she had loved, a simple grave marked with white stones and fresh flowers every Sunday. For the next 6 years, it was just father and daughter in their small but tidy home on the edge of town. Emeka worked long days at the bank, rising before the roosters to catch the first bus, but evenings belonged to Ada. He taught her to cook simple meals, egusi soup with fufu, the way Ifeoma had liked it, his big hands guiding her small ones as they pounded yam in the mortar. At night, he told stories, tales of Ifeoma's laughter echoing in the school corridors, her dreams of traveling to see the ocean in Lagos, her kindness to every stray cat in the neighborhood. Ada would fall asleep to the sound of his voice, clutching a faded photo of her mother in her tiny fist. Those years built a bond like iron. Ada learned resilience early, helping her father wash clothes by hand at the stream on weekends, reciting her ABCs while perched on his lap as he balanced the household books. Emeka saved every extra naira in a one envelope labeled Ada's future, whispering to himself in the dark, "She will fly farther than we ever did." Neighbors admired the single father's devotion, bringing plates of food during festivals or offering to watch Ada during his late shifts. But the house felt the quiet absence of a mother's touch, and Emeka carried the weight of it in the lines around his eyes. When Ada turned 6, change arrived in the form of Victoria. She was a widow from their church, efficient and well-spoken, with 2 daughters, Tolu, 9, bold and pretty with a flair for drama, and Funke, 7, quieter but quick to mimic her mother's sharp glances. Victoria had lost her husband to a car accident years earlier and ran a small catering business from home. At first, the blended family felt like a blessing. Emeka, lonely and exhausted, found comfort in Victoria's cooking and her laughter during Sunday dinners. The girls played together in the yard, Ada sharing her dolls, Tolu braiding her hair with colorful threads. Victoria's smiles were warm in front of Emeka. She called Ada "my new daughter" and promised to help her raise right. But weekends revealed the truth. Victoria became what the neighbors later whispered about as the weekend stepmother, present enough to maintain appearances, but cruel when Emeka's back was turned. It started small. "Ada, help your sisters with their chores," she would say sweetly when Emeka left for work, but the chores cowed up, scrubbing the tiled floors on her knees until they were raw, washing mountains of laundry by hand while Tolu and Funke played outside in their Sunday best. Victoria made sure Ada wore only the faded hand-me-downs, dresses with frayed hems and missing buttons, while her own daughters twirled in fresh Ankara prints bought from the market. At mealtimes, the best portions went to Tolu and Funke. Ada received the burnt edges of the yam or the watery dregs of the soup, her stomach often rumbling long into the night. "You eat too much already," Victoria would snap in the kitchen, her voice low and venomous. "Think you are special because he is his blood? This is my house now. Learn your place." Emeka knew. He saw the way Ada's eyes dulled, the bruises she tried to hide under long sleeves, the way she flinched at sudden movements. He heard the hunger in her quiet "I'm fine, Papa," when he asked about her day. But Victoria's lies were masterful, woven with tears and half-truths. "She is so clumsy, Emeka, always forgetting her duties and blaming the girls. I'm only trying to teach her discipline." He confronted her once, voice raised in their bedroom, but she turned it around, sobbing about how hard it was to step into a dead woman's shoes, how Ada resented her. Emeka, desperate for peace in the home he had built, stayed silent more often than not. Late at night, when Victoria slept, he would creep into Ada's room, kneel beside her small bed, and take her hands in his. "My jewel," he would whisper, tears in his eyes. "I'm so sorry. I see what she does. I know the truth. I'm trying to make it better, saving every kobo so I can send you abroad to study one day, far from here. You'll have peace, books, a life like your mother dreamed. Be strong for Papa. Hold on a little longer." Ada would nod, swallowing her sobs and cling to him until sleep came. Those promises became her lifeline, repeated like a prayer in the quiet moments. Years passed in a haze of hidden pain. Ada turned 10, then 12, her body growing taller, but her spirit bending under the weight. School became her escape, walking the dusty path alone while Tolu and Funke rode in the family car with Victoria. Teachers noticed her quiet brilliance, the way she devoured books during break, but no one saw the full picture. Victoria controlled the money Emeka brought home, doling out just enough for Ada's uniform while spoiling her own daughters with new shoes and phones. Emeka's health began to fade. Quiet chest pains he dismissed as stress, late nights coughing in the bathroom so no one would hear. He still worked at the bank, climbing the ranks slowly, but the promises to Ada grew more urgent. "Soon, ne. I've spoken to a cousin in the UK about scholarships. You will study nursing or medicine. You will fly." Then, when Ada was 17, the storm broke. Emeka's heart failed one rainy evening after work. He came home pale,
clutching his chest, and collapsed in the living room. Ada was the one who found him, screaming for help as Victoria dialed the emergency line with feigned panic. The hospital lights were harsh. Machines beeped their final warnings. Emeka gripped Ada's hand one last time in the sterile room. "Remember the promise," he rasped, eyes dimming. "Leave this place. Be free. I love you more than the stars over Enugu." He never finished. The house fell into stunned silence that night, mourners filling the compound with condolences and plates of rice. Victoria's grief lasted exactly as long as the funeral, black lace and loud wails for the cameras of family phones. At the will reading, everything shifted. Emeka had left the house and savings to the family, trusting Victoria to manage it. She did, immediately and ruthlessly. Within days, Ada was moved to the old storage shed at the back of the compound. It was a rickety wooden structure with a leaking zinc roof, dirt floor that turned to mud when it rained, and walls thin enough for the cold harmattan winds to whistle through. No bed, just a thin mat on the ground. No light but a single dangling bulb that flickered on good days. Victoria locked the door some nights, claiming it was for her own good. Food became scraps, cold garri soaked in water, the bones left from the family's chicken stew. Water came from a shared bucket at the stream, often warm and murky. Tolu and Funke lounged in the main house with new clothes ordered online, their laughter carrying across the yard, while Ada scrubbed, fetched, cooked and cleaned from dawn until the stars appeared. "You belong here now, Cinderella," Victoria sneered one evening, tossing a ragged blanket into the shed. "Your father's gone. This is my kingdom." Ada's days blurred into survival. She rose before the sun to sweep the compound, her cracked hands bleeding from the coarse broom. School was a distant memory now. Victoria had pulled her out, saying housework is her education. But Ada never broke. In the dark shed, she traced her mother's locket, the only keepsake she had hidden, and whispered Emeka's words. "One day I'll fly, Papa. One day." She found small joys, a wildflower she pressed between pages of an old notebook, the distant sound of church hymns on Sunday mornings when she was allowed a brief walk to the gate. Her body grew lean from hunger, but her eyes stayed bright, a quiet fire that no lock could dim. Hope arrived one bustling market morning when Victoria sent her to sell garden eggs for extra profit. Ada balanced the heavy basket on her head, bare feet kicking up red dust on the crowded path lined with stalls of colorful peppers, yams, and second-hand clothes. Sudden rain turned the ground to slippery clay. She stumbled, vegetables tumbling everywhere. Strong hands caught her arm before she fell fully. "Easy there now, careful," a deep, steady voice said. Chike, Victor to his formal friends, was 25, recently returned from engineering studies in Lagos. Tall, with kind eyes that crinkled at the corners, and a quiet confidence earned from building things with his own hands. He helped her gather every last garden egg, paying double what they were worth from his wallet. "Ada," she introduced herself softly when he asked, cheeks burning under the dirt and rain. He saw her then, not the rags or the exhaustion, but the quiet strength in her posture, the way she thanked him with genuine warmth despite everything. Their meetings began in secret. Chike, whose family owned several new housing developments in town, started appearing at the stream where Ada fetched water at dusk. He brought small gifts at first, a book on medicine he remembered her mentioning, a warm scarf for the cold nights, fruits hidden in his bag. They talked for stolen hours under the palm trees. He listened as she poured out her story in fragments. The shed, the hunger, her father's broken promises, her dream of studying nursing abroad. "You are not meant for this life," Chike told her one twilight, his fingers brushing hers lightly, sending warmth through her chilled skin. Love bloomed slowly, like hibiscus after the harmattan dry season. Chike fell for her resilience, her gentle laugh that lit up the dark, her way of quoting Bible verses she remembered from childhood services. For Ada, he was the first person who made the world feel safe again. Victoria caught wind of the wealthy engineer through market gossip. She saw opportunity. Tolu was dressed in her finest, bright red lipstick, a new lace blouse, and dinners were arranged at the main house. Ada served the food in silence, head bowed, wearing the same faded dress, disappearing to the shed afterwards. "My Tolu is perfect for you," she cooed over plates of pepper soup and pounded yam. Smart, beautiful, from a good family, ready to build a real home. Tolu flirted shamelessly, laughing at Chike's every word, while Funke nodded along. But Chike noticed everything. The way Ada's hands trembled as she cleared plates, the fresh bruise on her wrist peeking from her sleeve, the hollow look in her eyes when Victoria's voice sharpened. He saw the power imbalance, the cruelty masked as discipline. One night, after another forced dinner, Chike waited in the shadows by the shed. "Come with me," he said urgently when Ada slipped out for water, her bucket clanging softly. "Tonight," he said, "I won't watch them break you anymore." Tears filled Ada's eyes, fear of the unknown clashing with the echo of her father's voice. "I love you, Ada," he continued, voice steady as the hills. "Not the girl they hide away, the one who survived everything and still dreams. Marry me. Let me give you the life you deserve." Ada hesitated only a moment, then packed nothing but her mother's locket and the clothes on her back. They slipped away under the cover of night, hearts pounding like festival drums. Chike's family welcomed her with warm arms, warm meals, a soft bed, kind words that healed old wounds. Ada finished her secondary education in months through intensive tutoring, then enrolled in nursing school with Chike's support. Their wedding 6 months later was simple but filled with joy, a garden ceremony under fairy lights, his relatives dancing high life while Ada wore a white dress that fit perfectly, flowers in her hair. For the first time, Ada ate until her heart felt full, slept without fear of locks, and woke to Chike's gentle kiss. Their life together bloomed, his engineering business expanding, her studies thriving, quiet evenings on their veranda where he held her through nightmares of the shed. "You are safe now, my love," he whispered, tracing the scars on her hands. Their first child was announced soon after, a gentle swell under Ada's dresses that filled their home with new laughter. Meanwhile, the big house on the hill began its slow crumble. Victoria spent wildly, new cars gleaming in the driveway, lavish parties to impress church friends, failed business schemes that drained the savings. Emeka's left ran dry like a stream in dry season. They sold the house first, then the cars, the furniture, even the mango tree's shade sold as lumber. Pride kept them afloat briefly, but reality bit hard. They squeezed into a cramped rented room in a noisy part of town, meals reduced to garri and occasional fish, arguments filling the thin walls. Victoria's sharp tongue turned inward. To lose beauty couldn't buy jobs in a tough economy. Hunger has a way of humbling even the proudest. Funke, now 20, swallowed her shame and answered an advert for a housekeeper in the quiet upscale neighborhood on the hill. The house was beautiful, wide windows letting in golden light, blooming hibiscus in the garden, soft laughter
From the kitchen. On her first day, Funke tied on the apron, bucket and mop in hand, and began scrubbing the marble floors on her knees. A woman's voice called warmly from the hallway. "Careful with that corner. It gets slippery after rain." Funke looked up slowly. There stood Ada, elegant in a simple cotton dress, hair in soft twists, a gold wedding band gleaming, the gentle curve of pregnancy visible. Their eyes locked across the years of pain. The mop clattered to the floor. Funke dropped to her knees, tears streaming instantly. "Ada, oh God, please. We have nothing left. Mama is sick, coughing blood some nights. Tolu can't find steady work. Her pride won't let her. I didn't know it was you. I swear on everything. The way we treated you, the shed, the hunger, the lies, I was wrong. We were monsters. Forgive us. Help us. Just a little money, a place to stay, for old time's sake." Ada stood frozen, heart thundering like the night she first slept in the shed. Memories crashed over her, the cold dirt under her back, her father's voice cracking through the walls begging her to endure, the scraps of food that left her dizzy, Victoria's laughter as she locked the door, the loneliness that made her curl into a ball and sob until her throat burned. Tears burned Ada's own eyes now, hot and unrelenting. Chike stepped quietly into the room, one hand resting on her shoulder, steady, warm, always there. "It's your choice, my love," he said softly. Whatever you decide, I stand with you." Ada knelt too, taking Funke's trembling, work-roughened hands in her own scarred ones. The room filled with sobs, both women crying now, years of regret and pain spilling like the rains of July. "I remember every single night," Ada whispered, voice thick and raw. "Every time Papa begged me not to hate him for his weakness. Every time you and Tolu laughed over full plates while I swept crumbs from the floor. Every lock on that shed door. I wanted to hate you all. I prayed for it some nights. God knows the anger nearly swallowed me whole." She paused, wiping her face with the back of her hand, breath shaky. "But Papa taught me something heavier than hate. He taught me that carrying it is like carrying the bucket of water I fetched every dawn, back-breaking and endless. I won't forget what you did. I can't. The scars are part of me now, but I won't let it turn me into what you became. Chike and I will help. A small flat for your mother and Tolu, enough to get started. A real job for you both, cleaning or learning a trade, whatever you are willing to work for. No handouts forever, and boundaries. You stay away from our home and our child unless we invite you. This isn't forgiveness that erases the past. It's choosing peace so my baby never knows the taste of hunger or the feel of a dirt floor." Funke clung to her, sobbing harder, repeating, "Thank you, sister," between gasps. Ada helped her to her feet, and for the first time in over a decade, the weight in her chest lightened, just a fraction, but enough. Later that evening, as the sun dipped behind the Enugu hills, painting the sky in oranges and pinks, Ada and Chike sat on their veranda. He held her close, one hand on her belly where their child kicked softly. "We broke the cycle," she said through fresh tears, smiling at last. "Papa would be so proud. Mama too." And somewhere in the whispering mango groves, the love that began in a secondary school long ago, the one that survived loss, cruelty, and time, lived on. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy, but it endured, carried forward by a girl who chose light over shadows, teaching the next generation that even the darkest shed can birth the brightest dawn. The story of Ada was not just one of pain and survival. It was a testament to quiet strength, unexpected love, and the hard, healing choice to forgive without forgetting. In Enugu's hills, where secondary school bells still rang for new dreamers, her light shone on. Thanks for listening and watching. If this touched you, please subscribe, drop a like or comment. Stay tuned for more heartfelt Naija-inspired stories. See you next time. God bless.